We'll get started here in the room in New York. And also welcome to any people online who are just joining or more likely who have stayed over and are continuing to watch the broadcast. I think we've got a little over 100 people online also joining in for this leg of InnerSource Summit. Well, my name is Russ Rutledge. I'm the Executive Director of the InnerSource Commons that is co-sponsoring this event. It's my pleasure to give the welcome to our New York leg of InnerSource Summit 2025. So this event today is a special one. Well, I think an InnerSource Day is always special. We have a saying in the InnerSource Commons, Happy InnerSource Day. Any day that we're doing InnerSource is a day of happiness for ourselves and a chance to give happiness to others. And this event is especially happy because we're celebrating the 10-year anniversary of the InnerSource Commons Foundation as an organization. Okay? So 10 years ago, the organization started, and it's been a long and storied journey to this point where there's a global community, and we're celebrating today with 24 hours of InnerSource Summit. We're here on the last leg of it here in New York. So for the event today, we want to start by thanking our event sponsors. We're all sitting here in this wonderful facility here at IBM. I want to thank IBM for hosting. Also, our other location sponsors. This event started about 16 hours ago in Japan, hosted in Yokohama at Mitsubishi Electric, and then we just received the handoff from SAP hosted in Berlin. So thanks to our host sponsors. In addition, we have others that have helped with InnerSource Summit. Thanks to GitLab, Red Hat, and then Berta Solutions, which are also some Summit sponsors. In addition to sponsors for this particular event, we're thankful for our general sponsors of the InnerSource Commons, whose support also goes into putting on events like these. The support of these organizations are what allows this community to thrive and for us to be meeting here together today. Thank you for our partners, sponsors, our supporting sponsors. I'll call out here since we're at the IBM headquarters. IBM is also a general sponsor of the InnerSource Commons, for which we're very thankful and really helps the work of InnerSource throughout the world. Okay. So for those who are just joining, whether online or in person, we want you to post and share about what you're learning here, about what you're excited about. Put it on your favorite social media platform. We're watching and encouraging the use of the InnerSource Summit 2025 tag. Also, for in-person and online, we want to invite you to join the InnerSource Commons Slack. I know that many of you are on the Slack already. Some of you, it's probably how you found out about the event. But if you're not there, you can find the link very easily on the InnerSource Commons website, or you can take out your mobile device and scan this QR code. That'll put you in the Slack. For the event today, if you have questions for the speakers, we're going to be using the Slack as our location for Q&A. So just right there in the general channel of Slack, you can post your questions. And if you're online, there'll be people watching for those and making sure that your question gets asked of the in-person speaker. All right. Well, today we got a fantastic program lined up with InnerSourcerers from around the world and around the Americas here in our New York leg. The way things are going to go today is, for those watching online, there's a continuous schedule of InnerSource content. This schedule is also available on the event page on the website where you can follow it there. Now, for those of us who are here in person, there will be a chance to take a few breaks, morning break, afternoon break, a lunch break. So we will not be going as part of the 24 hours here in person, but we'll have some breaks. And while the in-person crowd is on break time, there'll be online virtual speakers that continue to share about InnerSource so that the online stream has a continuous feed of speakers, okay? All right, let's get started with a little bit of background for anyone who's new to InnerSource new to the InnerSource Commons community with a little bit of history and level setting as we get started learning more about InnerSource. First of all, what is InnerSource? InnerSource is adopting the practices of open source software internally within an organization for code that will only ever be shared internally, running it as if it were an open source project within the company. That means it's visible to everyone at the organization, everyone is invited to use it, and everyone is invited to contribute to it, to open a pull request or open an issue, just like you would see with an open source project, except for a company internal project. InnerSource follows and adapts many of the principles of open source, openness, transparency, prioritizing mentorship, and encouraging voluntary code contribution. These principles are outlined on the InnerSource Commons website. There's a series of learning path videos that give more information, example, on the importance of these principles in making InnerSource work and give training ideas of how to implement them at your organization. So definitely check that out. So why InnerSource? I find this is so connected with what is InnerSource is what do we hope to gain by it? As we speak with and listen to organizations throughout the world, these 4 categories of why InnerSource come out. So you might identify with some of these and not with others, and that's okay. Many organizations maybe have just one of these that's a motivation for InnerSource. Sometimes the way that we pursue or think about InnerSource in our organizations is different based on the results that we want to see. So I want to share these so that as you listen to speakers and have conversations, you can identify what is your why for InnerSource and look through it in that lens as you learn about InnerSource today. So briefly, InnerSource is a path at a personal or professional level or at an individual or organization level to open source mastery. InnerSource gives a safe internal chance for individuals and companies to practice and learn the skills that will then aid them in successful involvement with open source without having to learn in public and have those learnings be something that are visible outside the organization. Next one, InnerSource is a path to engineering efficiency. It breaks down engineering silos, avoids duplicated work, allows teams to build on the successes of others, to stop reinventing the wheel and move forward with work on the team that is specific to their product domain instead of doing work that's already been discovered elsewhere inside the organization. InnerSource is a path and a catalyst for innovation. There's a neat InnerSource enablement project that I heard about that called itself Project Fleming. And as a story about the way this works, the reason why it had this name is Alexander Fleming, who invented penicillin, was a researcher working in a lab. And in the samples of that he was working with, there was some cross-contamination from an adjacent lab that was completely by accident. And as he saw the results of this contamination had in his experience, it put him on the path where eventually he discovered penicillin, which is just an amazing thing in the medical field today. And it happened completely as a happy accident of people working close together and sharing the things they're working on. In this case, inadvertently. InnerSource is the same way as we bring together people from different parts of the organization. The thing that gets produced is better than anything that could have done by any single team. Even a central team mandated to solve a problem once for the company can never have all the insights that could come by inviting consumers from around the organization. And lastly, people development, happiness. InnerSource is an incredibly enabling methodology to adopt internally. It enables anyone when needing something from a project to get what they want by their own effort only by opening a pull request. We're taking away roadblocks and silos that are frustrating to our engineering and development teams that have to spend time on the non-engineering, non-productive task of negotiating across projects and vying for features to get in. With InnerSource, you can just open a pull request and move on with writing more code. Okay. So that's a little bit about InnerSource. So the InnerSource Commons Foundation is a separate entity that is stewarding the practice of InnerSource in the industry throughout the world. As we look at our online Slack community, there's over 4,000 participants in the InnerSource Commons, representing at least 1,000 organizations. Over the past 10 years, there's been over 30 in-person events. And beyond talk, many of the best practices of InnerSource are documented and probably is in what is the foundation's most durable, long-lasting asset, which is the InnerSource Patterns book. You can find that linked on the InnerSource Commons website. We continually receive feedback that it's a very valuable tool for capturing patterns of how to do InnerSource at your organization. So the InnerSource Commons is a nonprofit organization founded 10 years ago, as we say, and incorporated 5 years ago as a public charity in the United States. The stated mission of the charity is education around InnerSource in the technical industry. So it's been a long journey for the InnerSource Commons. Oh, here's our mission. Educating and supporting InnerSource throughout the industry and throughout the world, especially stewarding the worldwide body of InnerSource knowledge. We do that through assets like the patterns or conferences like we're hearing today. All right, here's some logos of organizations, the dozens, I think we're over 100 now organizations that have publicly shared their practice of InnerSource online. You can find links to case studies for all these organizations on our website. And people. The InnerSource Commons is an extremely welcoming community with, and it's a place where people really want to be. It's a unique community among tech communities where interpersonal interaction is such a key part of people feeling welcomed in addition to the practice of InnerSource. So you see here some of the happy gatherings that folks have had. And since we're here in New York, I gathered here some pictures. There's a wonderful tradition in the InnerSource Commons. Whenever two InnerSourcers are together at a conference, whether an InnerSource Summit or some other event, they're always friends and always taking pictures. So these are some that have been shared in our Slack before. I want to call out, as InnerSource grows throughout the world, you can see in the bottom right, it's a picture of an InnerSource gathering in Brazil. So InnerSource in the Americas is more than just US and Canada. We're seeing that regional InnerSource group in South America come, which is really exciting. The leadership of the InnerSource Commons, board of directors, myself as a director, Addie, who's here, I don't see her in the room, is also on the board of directors. Katie, who's here in the room, as a former member of the board. These are all volunteers, people who believe in InnerSource and want to put time into seeing the practice spread throughout the world. So last 10 years, InnerSource kind of has a start about 25 years ago when the term was coined. I'm not going to go through and read everything here, but just touch on a few highlights. And it's grown from that beginning here in the United States all the way until now where it's a worldwide movement. So just some of the highlights. InnerSource started in the US with Tim O'Reilly actually coined the term way back in 2000, 25 years ago, bringing open source practices, techniques, development techniques within the corporation. And Tim was advocating for this. This was like kind of the formal start to the name InnerSource. At the time, the battle in the industry was really around open source at this time. Will open source come out on top? Open source hadn't won yet, so there wasn't a wide adoption and recognition of InnerSource at the time. But after, over the next 10 years, after it was clear open source was the winner, things turned to InnerSource and bringing that together. So Denise Cooper, who was involved in the handoff from Berlin that you just saw, started and founded the InnerSource Commons 10 years ago in 2015. And that's the 10 years that we're celebrating. This was generously supported by her employer at the time, which was PayPal, which sponsored some of the first InnerSource events, which led to the foundation being incorporated as a public charity 5 years ago. So since that time in 2015, there's been over a dozen in-person events, regional gatherings associated with conferences, mostly in the United States, but also appearing in Europe and Asia as well. The InnerSource Patterns book, we talked about that one. Continually is the asset of the InnerSource Commons that people call out as one of the most helpful things for starting InnerSource at your organization. And then besides these large global summits, the program of local gatherings has popped up where there's regional events, a little bit like a Kubernetes community day or a DevOps days, where a particular host in a city will sponsor a smaller InnerSource gathering. We've seen a growth of these with a dozen in the past 12 to 15 months in 2024 and 2025, including several in Tokyo, one in China. So it's exciting to see InnerSource expanding in Asia. And with the interest, we're really excited last year, actually 2 years ago, when InnerSource first popped up on the Gartner hype cycle for software engineering, moving up the peak, showing up in 2023, extending further on 2024, and now in their reports in 2025, it's moving forward. And our task now is to get up that to the plateau of productivity there on the right. It was exciting to see major outlets like Gartner acknowledging InnerSource and its place in the industry. All right, here for the New York audience, I wanted to call out some more local exciting things we see around InnerSource. InnerSource showed up in the United Nations this past year. I think in the picture I see Addie, who's also in the back here today, as part of the UN panel on InnerSource right here in New York. In the middle, there's Daniel, the chair of the InnerSource Commons, who was also there at that UN panel. So exciting to see the concepts recognized in other international organizations like the UN. We almost had a UN representative or UN person at the UN here today, ended up not being able to make it, but interest there in InnerSource. Also, did you know that InnerSource is required by the US government? The Share It Act requires US agencies to share custom source code with each other. Now, they don't use the term InnerSource, but I'm co-opting and saying the US government has mandated InnerSource, because when you look at some of the text there, it's mandated that agencies share with one another. What are their goals? We're going to prevent duplicative software development. And it's even the act, they always do these cute acronyms for the bills that get passed. This is the Share It Act, and they came up with a letter for each of them. But in my mind, it's kind of the InnerSource Act as well. But look at the impact that they're expecting. You have $15 billion of software development that they believe could be impacted through InnerSource practices. So InnerSource is alive. It's growing in the industry. As we look forward now toward the future and what it means for InnerSource, I wanted to share a note about InnerSource and AI. This is the way I see things. I know that there's others that do as well. There's a question in the AI area, what does that mean for InnerSource? I'll stand and say that in the AI era, InnerSource is more relevant than ever. Think about it. AI is the ultimate InnerSource consumer, the ultimate InnerSource contributor, and everything that we do, that you've done in your organizations to make software discoverable, understandable, and easy to contribute to is the exact things that's going to help AI to do the same. Okay, so InnerSource makes sense. Think of AI as a consumer and potential InnerSource contributor. And also, InnerSource is helpful to AI. InnerSource projects at your organization provide an abstraction layer over details that are solved problems that are already done your company way, so that AI can just use the InnerSource projects that already exist at your organization and get it done right by your company's security and coding standards without having to figure out how to fit all of that into a prompt. The prompt and context window for AI can focus on the particular business problem that you're trying to solve, rather than also having to spin up the underlying infrastructure and code and platform that need to be done in a specific way. Thirdly, as AI lowers the technical barrier in the creation of code, the human and social barriers to effective code creation are going to become the bottleneck. In the software industry in general, we don't collaborate within our organizations as we should. That's why there's a need for InnerSource. We've been able to get by with this somewhat in the past because collaboration was only part of the problem in software development. Effective code generation was also a really time-consuming and really expensive task. With InnerSource, the amount of time and resources that need to go into generating code are lowered quite a bit. And what's happening is we're all going to come against the point where the human and social barriers and collaboration barriers end up becoming the bigger bottleneck rather than code generation itself. So the AI era in all of these ways accelerates the need for InnerSource. All right, so looking forward, we've had 10 years of InnerSource awesomeness. What is there to come in the future? What I see for the InnerSource Commons and InnerSource in general, I see more local gatherings and chapters of the InnerSource Commons. InnerSource started in the United States. It spread throughout the world. I think there's more to go, and strengthening local organizations throughout the world that have sprung up, many of them in just the past year, will be an ongoing theme. More published training guides and handbooks. I think in general, there's a general knowledge and direction for InnerSource, but a lot of the how, even the specific patterns, sometimes there's things still left to interpretation. We see companies and organizations creating internal guidebooks and trainings. I think more of those can be brought into the open and shared. So not every company has to figure things out completely from where things are at now to having a functioning InnerSource program. I think we'll see after 10 years, InnerSource as the industry standard. It's for software development. It's on the trend. It's on the hype cycle. Within 10 years, we're looking back and like agile development, it's the industry standard that people know is going to happen. The tagline that I have for this is we'll see robust and pervasive InnerSource is just the normal way that software development happens in organizations worldwide. All right. Well, that's my summary here. 10 years of awesomeness in the InnerSource Commons. I'm so excited to kick off our New York. Thanks for having us here today. Again, a special thanks for IBM for hosting all of us and hosting the InnerSource Commons in that venue. Let's have a great day today here with InnerSource. Thank you.